Hey everyone, I'm Angela. I'm doing my practicum at the Poverello Center. The social issue we address is poverty and homelessness. A brief history of our organization: we started just over 40 years ago as a ministry-based group and then eventually became secular nonprofit. Um, we started as just a soup kitchen. About 5 years into that, it was so obvious that there was a need for shelter services. In 1981, they opened their first emergency shelter at 535 Ryman, where they remained for quite some time. It wasn't until the end of last year that we made our move into the new building that's on West Broadway. Our agency mission, I'm just going to read to you so I'm not paraphrasing the mission. It is in collaboration with the people of Missoula and surrounding areas and local, state, and national organizations. The Poverello Center reaches out to provide food, shelter, clothing, and essential services to the communities hungry and homeless. This mission is accomplished through compassionate, respectful, and competent services in an environment that enhances human worth. And then when thinking about the goals of the program, we would think about, alleviating the experience of poverty and homelessness. Our client base, so for our overnight shelter services, is men and women ages 18 and over, and we are zero tolerance for substances. So if you're even suspected to be under the influence, you may not come into the shelter. And that's true during the day also. Let's see, just a quick statistic: about 40% of our clients at the Poverello Center have income. They just can't find affordable housing and end up homeless. So sometimes we're helping people look for employment and sometimes they already have it. Our key programs and services would be our emergency shelter and the soup kitchen. Then we have a couple veterans programs and our homeless outreach team. There's some other students focusing on the veterans programs and the homeless outreach team, and so I'm going to kind of stick to the emergency shelter and the soup kitchen since that's where I'm primarily based right now. So for night services, we're a 45-day emergency shelter. Once you show up for check-in 8:45 any night of the week, you are given 45 days to stay with us. If at the end of 45 days you're making moves towards permanent housing but haven't gotten it yet, you can file for an extension. And that's how you receive some of our case management services, through the intake process of being a resident, and then if you are following through with extensions, that's where you'll sit down with lead staff and refine goals and really make a plan for how to get into permanent housing. So for veteran services, we have the Valor House and the Housing Montana Heroes program. The Valor House is off-site, and then the Housing Montana Heroes is in our main building on West Broadway. And then our homeless outreach team, they're reaching out to the people who either can't access our services because maybe they're addicted, or don't want to access our services. Maybe they don't like the shelter environment. Our administrative structure, we are run by a board of directors. So there's the president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and then 10 board members in addition to them. And then we have our executive director. And then under her would be the development team, who's like the office manager and volunteer coordinator. And then the emergency facility team, which is our shelter manager and the support service manager. And then we have our lead staff that are on 24 hours a day at the shelter. For sources and adequacy of funding, I didn't actually get a chance to sit down with the office manager and talk generally, but I did research how the new building, our West Broadway building, was financed. And it was primarily financed through grants. Primarily through a special projects grant through Economic Development Initiative, and then the Housing and Urban Development. And then we are really dependent on donations from both individuals and from businesses for food, clothing items, toiletry items, and then things like toilet paper and all that kind of good stuff that we need at the shelter. And then we do fundraising. So, yeah, I think that's about it. Thanks, guys. Bye.